Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
Phelps with 10 meters left. 3 minutes too good. The crowd roaring. Freeman wins gold.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go. Listeners, welcome to another episode of the Physical Performance Show. I trust you enjoyed last episode where I caught up with 19-year-old Alyssa Azar. What a sensation, hey? 19 years of age, having scaled Mount Everest. So today I have another great guest who I've been really looking forwards to sitting down with and unpacking the highs and lows of her sporting career. I'm an avid runner myself, and this is a runner who I've long admired. And today I'm sitting with Benita Willis. Benita is the Australian record holder in the marathon with an outstanding time of 2:22:36, set at the Chicago Marathon in 2006. Benita also remarkably holds the Australian records over 2,000 metres, 3,000 metres, 5,000 metres and 10,000 metres. On top of that, Benita is a 4-time Olympic Games and 2-time Commonwealth Games representative, having represented Australia at the Olympics as a 21-year-old in Sydney, right through to London, some 4 Olympics later in 2012. Benita's originally from Mackay in Queensland, and perhaps as she describes her crowning glory from her incredible running career was the World Cross Country Championships in 2004. And to this day, Benita is the only non-African runner to have ever won that title. And the only Australian female runner or male runner at the World Cross Country Championships to receive a medal. So this is a really special guest, someone that I had a great time catching up with. I hope you enjoy this interview. Let's get stuck right in. Listeners, welcome to another episode of the Physical Performance Show. Joining me today is one of Australia's most esteemed female distance runners. This is a runner that, since I started to learn the story of this runner, I've really admired her for achievements. And as I've gotten to know her a little bit behind the scenes, just admired the humility and also the transparency of which Benita shares around her running expertise. So I'm joined today by Benita Willis. And Benita, great to have you along.
Thanks, Brad. Yeah, no, it's great to be here.
And Benita, I like to start straight out of the gates with something that'll make you think. And what's one thing that scares Benita Willis?
There's a few things. Not too much, but probably one thing is I don't particularly like turbulence on planes, and I've flown heaps of times everywhere around the world. But I'm always prefer to be on big planes than little planes.
So you like the big ones? What's a little plane in your definition?
Probably like 8-seater. So not a real little one either.
And in your career, which we're going to talk about today, is there one moment on a plane that was really quite heart in your mouth type of an experience?
Yeah, we had a few dodgy flights. I remember flying to the Ostrava Diamond League, that it's called now, in the Czech Republic, and I just flown into Prague from Australia and flew over to Ostrava, and it's a really tiny town, and turbulence was terrible, and there was like only 8 people. One was Tim Hutchins, who's a British commentator, and he'll probably be commentating the Olympics for Eurosport, and he was laughing because he just like didn't bother him, and I'm just like pretending not to be worried because you always you don't want people to think that you're a bit worried about turbulence. But that was probably the bumpiest one I've ever had. I don't know if it was because I was a bit jet lagged and I'd just been flying for 27 hours or like, or that I am actually not really fond of turbulence but I was just glad to get on the ground. But it's one of those moments where I'm like, probably my last day on earth today.
So did you then compete on the other side of landing?
The next night we competed. I competed in 10K and didn't go that good. I'm not sure what was to go there. But the year before I broke the Australian record in the 2K, and that year I did the 10K. So it was quite different races,
What year was that approximately, Benita?
That was 2008.
Yep.
And it wouldn't have been the year before. It would have been quite a few, 5 years, probably 5 years before when I broke the 2K national record. So you don't run the 2K very much, and I hold plenty of records, and that's probably my weakest record, but it still hasn't been broken for a long time.
So it hasn't been broken since it was set around that 2003?
Yeah, about 2003. So I set the 5K national record in 02, the 10K in 03, 2K in 03, and marathon in 06.
And marathon in 06. And Benita, let's go there now. The records, because that's, you're the holder of these records to this day. Did you... When you set the 2K record, which was your first national record, is that correct?
I actually broke the 5K one first in 2001, and then I broke it again quite a few times after that. So my fastest 5K was towards the end of the season in 02.
Okay. And the records with numbers wrapped around them, the 2K record is...
5:37.
5:37 on a track.
Yep.
5K...
3K is 8:30.
Sorry, 3K,
Sorry, I forgot to say. 3K is 8:38.
Yep.
5K is 14:47.
Yep.
10K is 30:37.
Yep.
And marathon is 2:22.
Yeah. And, as a recreational / competitive with myself runner, those times are, times that anyone would be wrapped with. Just incredible, Benita. And we certainly want to go into some of those performances in more detail. How did you get started in running?
I used to just run on the beach with my dad. I grew up in Mackay in North Queensland, and we didn't really wear shoes to school. We were in a tiny suburb out of Mackay, about 20 minutes out of Mackay, and we just used to run. I used to run on the beach in bare feet. Like, our beach was at low tide. It's kind of like running on pretty hard sand, so it's kind of like running on some dirt. And so I used to run on the beach, probably 20-minute run probably a few times a week, but I mainly did hockey, so I got into running on the beach with my dad. But I actually did the state titles when I was 10 and came second, and then I did nationals because Mum thought I'd never make it, and I used to run in bare feet, came second in the 800 at nationals, and then I didn't do running again until I was year 9. So I just did hockey. I actually played for Australia in hockey in year 10, 11 and 12, and went on a tour of South Africa and New Zealand in year 11 and 12 as well as part of a national team, and I was in the Olympic under 21 side as a potential for Sydney Olympics, and then I switched sports a few years out. So I kind of gave up the hockey and moved to Canberra at the AUS for running. So it was kind of like I got into running just through probably more for my hockey, and then I just kind of started enjoying it. But I was certainly more of a sport person growing up, like a team sport person, and I wasn't really like a proper runner.
So that's incredible. So you were right into your hockey. That was your first love, I guess we'd say, at that stage.
Yeah.
What was the moment in your... Because this is through your teens, right? Growing up years. Yeah. Was there one moment where you said you shifted and went to Canberra for running, but was there one moment you were listed or named in the pre-Sydney Olympic 2000 potential Australian hockey team, women's hockey team, which was incredibly deep in talent and, so obviously very gifted on the hockey field. Yeah. What was the moment where you went, you know what, maybe running's my greatest physical calling?
I think when I was in year 12, which was 1996, I was in the Australian team and we toured South Africa in a Four Nations tournament, and at that time in hockey they took out the no offside, or they brought in the no offside rule, so I was a strike forward, and I guess I didn't feel like I was needing to run as much, so our plan was a lot that I was just trying to deflect the ball for goal, so people would be smashing balls into the circle and all the strike forwards are trying to deflect it, and I didn't really like that rule change, but also I think when I finished year 12, I really wanted to go to uni. I didn't, even though I'd been in national junior hockey teams, I didn't really think that the career of an athlete was what people did. So I got offered an AUS scholarship for running, more of a talent ID thing. And at that stage, I was like, I don't know if I'll do hockey anyway, because I kind of want to do uni full time. So I just thought I'll move to Canberra on the AUS scholarship, thinking I'll just get through uni and just try a bit more running. But I never moved there thinking I'm going to be like a really good runner. Like, I just moved there more because I thought I could get better at running, and I was really competitive, but it was a good way to get through uni as well. And I guess I didn't enjoy running as much until probably the second year I was in Canberra, when I started to improve a lot, and just kind of, I found running training really boring, and just like reps on the track and reps, like compared to hockey, that it wasn't really like, it was more like you did everything for yourself. But then, yeah, as I started to enjoy the running more, and I had a group, I was in Dick Telford's group at the AUS, and I met all these people, and I had some really awesome friends. And I think it was after that, people like Marty Dent, who was on our London Olympic team, Scotty Westcott, who's on our Rio team in the marathon, and there's so many people that have come out of that training group that have gone on to different sorts of things in life, and so I think it was probably in year 12 that I was kind of, but then I still played hockey for ANU in my first year in Canberra, and we won the A-grade premiership. So, I've never won an A-grade premiership, so that was cool. But then, I was kind of, I was really more focused on my running after that.
Wow. Well, how did you compete through your high school running years, though, in terms of like national levels? And you must have been right at the pointy end to go to AUS on a scholarship. So I won the national 8 and 15 title in year 10, 11 and 12. So I think I still have one Queensland record, but I used to just sit and kick all my races. I never tried to run fast times. And it was kind of like I'd beat girls that I know used to train a lot more than me, and I didn't like normal running clothes. Like, I used to wear like kind of like almost like board shorts or boxer shorts, kind of like, so if you see any photos of me, they're not, I don't look like a normal runner. What didn't you like about normal running clothes?
Oh, it was a bit weird to me, like, because we grew up in the country, like, people thought that was a bit odd, but I think I was obviously talented, and I think I ran 2:08 as in year 10 in the 800, but we'd only really train for running 3 or 4 months of the year, and the rest of the year was hockey. So off that kind of training, it was probably showed that I was going to be pretty good, but I just never ever ran any other way other than sit and kick.
Wow.
Yeah.
And obviously you were successful in the sit and kick approach. Can you remember the first person, Benita, that tapped you on the shoulder as a teenager going through those years, that actually spoke to you about how much promise you had as a runner? Who was that first person?
John Clancy was my coach at high school, and he's now head of PE at Brisbane Boys Grammar. And he was always, he was a very big rugby league star in Toowoomba growing up, and had a lot of injuries, and he moved to Mackay and started a family. He has a running group now, and he was always like I knew I was talented, and he'd say, that's just awesome. But he was very, he was very much still a teacher, and he didn't have training groups outside of school and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, I think it wasn't until I was in year 12 and I was away in South Africa at the hockey tournament, and Dick Telford at the AUS rang up my mum. And he goes, I think Benita's really talented, and I want to offer her a scholarship at AUS. It's a full scholarship, she can go to uni, because Dick understood that uni was really important to me, and he knew that I wasn't coming from, all I want to be is a runner. I wasn't coming from that kind of background. When I got back from, we were in Cape Town, I got back from Cape Town, I was away for 5 weeks, and I got back and Mum's like, Dick Telford, this guy called Dick Telford rang, and I didn't even really know who Dick Telford was. I knew he was on a cereal box because he was on Sustain back then.
Did you just eat that too?
Yeah. And so I'd always be like, but then I was kind of like, I still put in for a course to do uni at Bond Duty on the Gold Coast, and I ended up applying for university over in Canberra as well, but I still hadn't really decided, but I just put in 2 applications, and it was kind of, I think that was when I was like, someone had rang up my mum from Canberra, and I was kind of like, I'd never considered doing running. Wow. And if it wasn't for going to the AUS, I definitely wouldn't have pursued running. I think I probably would have Maybe just done like A-grade level hockey on the Gold Coast, and just went through uni and just probably just done that. Like I don't know if I would have even bothered with the running.
Yeah.
Just because with distance running as well, I think sometimes it does help if you're down south, because I found like sometimes through the summer, I never used to, because I needed to run over about 20 minutes, and then some of those longer runs, after I'd been training properly and I'd come back to Mackay for Christmas, I'd just really struggle. But Mackay's a lot hotter than here, and then southeast Brisbane, but still, I think it did help for me moving down south.
Okay. So you, just because of the heat differential, the longer runs and the less toll potentially.
Yeah, and also support.
Cycle.
So when I moved to the AUS, I lived there for a while, and then once I turned 18, I didn't have to live on campus, so I could live, and I lived in a group house with some other runners. And I think going to the AUS, like I learned, about physio, about massage, about like lots of things that I needed to be doing that, like when I was growing up, I never went to the physio. I never went, not that I know you're a physio, but I never had treatment, and I never really understood what goes into the elite side of the sport. I kind of just thought running was something like more like a hobby to get fit for other sports. Because that's what it kind of been to me growing up. And even moving to the AIS, like I learned about like gym programs and all that kind of stuff. And but I think in a way, like growing up, how I did was it probably helped me be a really good athlete, because I was very new to everything and I wasn't like burnt out at all. And I think that's a big problem I see, even when I was living in London and even coming back to Australia now. The burnout rate is massive with kids in high schools here, so they get to kind of year 12 and they just can't do it anymore. And so I think for me, I was just, and I was probably even heavier in year 12 than I was at my best in my career. But then I see, especially girls, they're going through their careers, or they're running in high school and they're so lean and so they're training so hard, but you've always got to have areas that you can improve on. And I always think that's getting leaner if you need to, and training harder and that kind of thing, and being really like pumped for it. And some people get to year 12 and they're like, they just can't wait to start partying, and things like that, because they've pushed so hard through school. So I think we need to almost go the opposite way with a lot of our juniors, and I was lucky with that. And
the opposite way, Benita, being, just to clarify, take the pressure off, run to enjoy it, by all means, perform and, seek your best, but realise that, because obviously, I've experienced it to no level in terms of as a career, but just in my own personal satisfaction with my own running story. I'm 35 now, and I feel I've got the next few years to get my best times out. Coming back to the sport quite late after a big break, but it's certainly, and as a physiotherapist, observing a lot of the times the children coming through that do just stick with it for the longest, that have some natural talent, obviously, that tend to come through in the end with some incredible achievements and results, where some of the incredible stars of the junior scene do fade away. It's really hard, because you kind of like, you want to encourage them, and a lot of them, it's about holding them back more so than pushing them too hard, because they want to go as hard as people will let them train. So I think it's more about having them enjoy it, and not being so focused on times and things like that, like having them enjoy the competition. But I think cross country is a really good, and things that are a team kind of environment where, even if they don't run quite as well, they really do run really well, like it's an overall like sharing that success, and I think that really helps. But it's a real problem, because I think we have so much talent here in Australia, and so I'm not talking just Queensland, but I think across Australia we have so much talent, but it's just about nurturing that kind of talent and just kind of helping those people progress naturally when they're in school, and then kind of if they really want to do it after year 12, you can improve. Like I think my 3K best time was about 9:50 or something like that in year 12, and then I ran 8:38 for 6 years after that, something like that. So it's not like it takes that long, and I've never even done a 5K until the trial for the Sydney Olympics, and then I ran
15:21, made the team, and then I ran like a lot faster than that only a few years later. So I think once you start getting into your 20s, you can't really say when you're going to make the big steps, but you're not going to be a world beater when you're 15. So I think you've that's a big area that I think we need to really look at here. But looking back on my career, when I was 15, I was just doing whatever I wanted. And I kind of really enjoyed it though. And I did train a lot for hockey, and I did do a lot of sport, but I wasn't like every day. I wasn't like, this is my focus plan and it's my life and everything else kind of comes second to that. Like I wasn't like that. But it's probably a good thing I lived in the country. I went to a state school. Like you don't have a lot of the pressures of the private school system here that you do here or Melbourne, and that's a tough thing as well.
Yeah. So Benita, you mentioned your first 5K was for the trials for the Sydney Olympics.
Yeah.
At that stage, you were how old in years? Approximately. 20. Yeah. You stepped onto the track at trials or at a meet and ran a 15:21 and made the team.
Yeah.
Had that been something that as you moved to Canberra, once you started to put your running hat on more, I guess, firmly, that you were aspiring to, making your first Olympic team?
Yeah, well, it was interesting that year because this was, it was in the year 2000. I was actually training for the 1500 and I was the first person in the season that year to run the A qualifier, which in those days was 4:08 flat, and I ran 4:07 something at Canberra Grand Prix and won by a fair bit. But we had a lot of girls end up running that A qualifier for the 1500, and I came fourth in the trial, which just means that you're the first person that doesn't get picked. And our Olympic trial for Sydney was, it was quite close to the Olympics. It was only a few months away. So it was at Homebush. It was a practice in the main stadium, and I entered the 5K just because I thought I might as well enter it, and actually more girls had run the A qualifier in the 5K, and so I was really upset after the 15, and because once I'd run that A qualifier earlier in the year, I thought, I might even go to the Olympics here, and even though I was only 20, I really wanted to do it because I thought I could, and I used to be quite confident in my mind about stuff, but just not really talk to people about, not say stuff to people. And so then when I came fourth in the trials, I was very pissed off and very upset. And so then I was like, I've got nothing to lose, I'm just going to do the 5K. And it was like 2 days later, and I think there was 7 girls that had qualified for that, including one girl who had the national record at the time, and they were all older than me, much older, and very well-known runners, and I didn't have the profile that any of these girls had. And I thought, well, if I'm a 1500 runner, I'm faster than them all at 1500, so all I'm going to do is just sit in the pack and just sprint at the end, and that's all I did. And I knew that the hardest thing would just be keeping up, and I was fine. And then in the last, I think 200 or 300, I just out-sprinted them all. And so then, winning the trial means you're the first on the team, obviously. And it was awesome, and then I almost actually made the final at Sydney Olympics. Like that was probably one of my better Olympic runs. So it was kind of like once I'd made that, like I was kind of wow, that's the Olympics, but I still knew that I was probably had a lot more to give. I wasn't at my potential or anything.
You were 2021 first 5K.
So young, yeah.
What was it? Were you being coached at that stage by Dick?
Yeah.
Yep. What was the first thing Dick said to you when you came out and won the 5K after finishing fourth and just missing selection in the 1500? What did he say?
Oh, he was pumped. Yeah. But we both really didn't really know. But I knew I'd done a lot of fitness stuff, and at that stage I'd been at AUS for 3 years. So I'd been training quite hard for 3 years. Yep. The first year I was at AUS was 1997, and I got a pretty bad injury. So then 1998 I was out for a fair while. I had a stress fracture in my navicular, and that was the only stress fracture I ever had in my career. But in those days as well, I was on crutches, I couldn't really do much. So I only probably had half a year of good training in 98, and then 99 was a really good year. And I just went to a couple of things like World Students, World Juniors, and then, so the Olympics was my first open team as well. So it wasn't even like that. I was experienced with being on teams because World Unis is kind of a bit more of a party. Like I remember partying heaps there. It was in Mallorca. And I came back, and the first time I ever did my skin folds was after that World Students, and I think they were like 90 something, which is pretty high. But I think sometimes if you can improve. There's so many ways you can improve, and for me, getting a bit leaner did help me improve. And training harder and things like that. So I wasn't very experienced going into the Sydney Olympic trials, but I knew that I could probably run pretty well. It's always a hard thing to kind of just know how it's going to go on the day.
Yeah.
And then 2001, I started to improve heaps.
So your world changed after Sydney Olympics, Australia's hometown Olympics.
Yeah.
Young, emerging runner. Obviously, you're under the spotlight of the running community and, the Australian selectors. So what changed for you between Sydney and then Athens, Benita?
Yeah.
In the middle there, or in 2004, you won your world cross country title. So 2004 to Athens, the world cross country champs, which, from my knowledge, you're the only Australian woman to ever win the world cross country title.
Yeah, yep. And no one in Australia's ever got a medal except me. Yeah, but and I was the last non-African to win as well. So.
The last non-African to win.
Yeah.
So incredibly significant. So what was that 4-year window like in terms of your career post-Sydney?
Yeah, well, I guess in 2001, that's the first year I went to the World Cross Country, and I also went to the World Indoors. So those 2 trips were huge. I came 4th at World Cross Country, and that was in Ostend in Belgium. And I came 6th at the World Indoors, and I had a huge breakthrough. I ran 8:42 indoors, and I think just improving so much at my 3K time as well really helped me kind of think, you can get better. It was after that World Indoor, so I was in Lisbon in Portugal, and Tamsin Lewis, people like that were on the team, Pat Johnson. There's only, I think, 6 people on the team, so it was quite a small team, and Australia only wanted to send people they thought could get in the top 8. Yeah. And I think ever since that, once I did that final, it was heats and finals, and I was beaten by people that had won Olympic 5K titles and stuff like that, so it's kind of like, I thought, I'm probably going to be all right in the world scheme of things. Like, it is hard until you start racing those people that are at the top of their game. And I think there's, some people that have had a lot of drug suspicions around that time that were in those kind of races as well. So it kind of, you don't think about that when you're running, but looking back on it, it probably was even a better run than I got credit for as well. And then, so after that race, then I went on to the World Champs, which were in Edmonton, World Half Marathon as well. So it's kind of, sorry, not World Half Marathon, but World Champs in Edmonton. And then the next year, that's when I started to break a lot of Australian records on the track. So it's kind of, I think, just improving bit by bit, just gradually getting better, kind of made you hungry for more. But you don't really know. I didn't really think I was a 5K runner. I always thought I was a shorter distance runner, but I tended to get better as the distances got longer, which was interesting because I was sometimes a bit inconsistent with my racing, but I think when you're training that hard, you got to be close to that line of doing too much, and I think sometimes when you're doing too much, it just can really affect your racing, so you just got to be really careful. In 2001 I was pretty good. 2002, that's when I ran 14:47. I didn't run very well at Manchester Com Games, and I think that's when I was kind of feeling like I wanted to change in where I was living, coaching and all that kind of stuff.
Because you were at this stage based out of still Canberra?
Canberra,
Yeah.
And Nick Bideau was managing me then, and I made a decision to change coaches, and it was really hard because I'm still really good friends with Dick now, and Dick helped me so much through the AUS and things like that, and I don't really think that my career would have even happened without Dick, but I think sometimes I just needed a different environment. I started living in London a lot more, and training with Sonia O'Sullivan, which really helped. She really helped me with my career, and she's 10 years older than me, but her career has just been absolutely brilliant. So it's kind of like, it was really good for me to train with her and see what she did. Started training with Craig Mottram as well, and then 2002 was really a big year. And then 2003 though, I almost got a medal at the World Cross Country in Switzerland, and I thought I was going to get a medal, and then I saw shadows either side of me with these 2 Kenyans, and so I thought I was going to come 3rd, and then I ended up coming 5th, and I was just so pissed off about that race.
Which race was that, Benita? That was
the World Cross Country in 03.
03, yep.
And
you thought you were going to get 3rd, and you were swamped by 2 Africans.
Yeah, and so I think just like I was so determined for that whole next year till the World Cross Country again to try to get a medal, because I was just so close, and we were close to a team's medal as well, but we didn't get one either. So it was kind of like I I had some great runs in 03, and I think it was because of that. Like, that's when I ran the 30:37 at the World Champs in Paris, and that's probably, I would say, that's probably my best national record. I think that's better than 2:22, but it depends who you speak to. But I just think the 10K on the track is so hard to get right, and I got. I've only broken 31 minutes once. I've done a lot of runs 31:0 something, but just. Yeah, and that race wasn't even, a perfect race or anything. And it was at a World Champs, and often you don't get World Champs that are fast races. So that was really good. And then...
How'd you finish? Where'd you finish, in that 10K?
Eighth.
Eighth,
yeah. And
yep.
that race, everyone was talking up Paula Radcliffe running, because in those days, that's after she ran the 2:15 in 2002 over the marathon, and then she was talking up running a sub 30-minute 10K at that World Champs. But she didn't end up running, so everyone kind of thought she was going to run, and then Lorna Kiplagat won, but it was like 30:0 something for the win. Like, it was very fast. So I think that's probably helped me get a very good time, because I was in really good shape. And I'd run 14:47 over 5K the year before, so I was in very good shape over 5K still. Things. I know I went through 5K in 15:08 in that race, so I blew up a little bit. But it was one of those races where you kind of just run with the pack and see what happens.
Yeah, wow. And that was all preceding the Athens Olympic Games?
Yeah.
Yep. So then that took us into Athens. You had one Olympics under your belt. You were racing the 5K at Athens?
10K. Yeah.
10K. Sorry, so you raced 10K. Was that the final of? That wasn't the final of Athens where you finished 8th. That was the World Champs. World Champs. So how did you then go at Athens?
So then, so after that World Champs, I got third at the World Half Marathon in Portugal at the end of 2003, and I think that was my first medal at a World Championship, and it was my first half marathon too. So in those days you could enter off your 10K time, and.
What did you clock for that one, Benita? What was your
I did
first
69 minutes, but it was in Vila Moura in Portugal, and there was 110 turns in the race. Like, it was laps of this 2K, 2 point something K circuit, but there was heaps of turns. And Paula Radcliffe was in that race, and Bahana Deary, who were first and second. So it was a very fast race. There was Russians that were coming. We're in third and fourth for most of the race, and I only passed them both in the last 300 metres, and so people were pumped that I was passing these Russians, because you always suspected stuff with them back then, and now all this drug stuff's coming out kind of makes sense to me, but it's a bit frustrating. But that was one of my probably best ever races, that race, to get that bronze medal. And then that was going into 2004 when I won the World Cross, which was in Brussels in March of the same year as Athens. So that was a big, probably 12 months, and winning the World Cross Country was kind of it was one of those things where you don't I knew I was in really good shape, and I knew all I wanted to do was try to get a medal, but I wasn't thinking, all I want to do is win. I was just thinking I've got to be there in the last lap, so it was 4 laps of a 2K course. But I was in really good shape. The course was muddy, it was hilly, it was a really terrible day, raining. It was one of those days where I was kind of I was wearing 15 mil spikes, and it was one of those days where I really liked cross country, because I like the bad weather kind of cross countries. And so all those things going, I would say, in my favour for cross country. And then going into the race, I'd beaten girls that had went on to win. One of the Ethiopians that went on to win the Athens 10K, Durada Tulu. I beat her in a race in Japan just before World Cross. And she was really worried about racing me, and so even just her saying that to me, it gives me confidence, because I'm thinking, well, this girl that's won multiple.
So she actually said that to you?
Yeah, she said that to me after this race in Chiba in Japan, and so I was kind of
she said, I'm in her own language, in her own way, I'm a bit nervous about racing at World Cross Country. So it's really interesting, because even when people say little things like that to you, and you're kind of oh wow, and I used to talk to everyone, and the Africans are always very friendly to us, and we were friendly to them, and we live near a lot of them in London, so it's kind of and all the best ones could always speak English, so it was easy to talk to them, and she was a bit worried, and then and then my tactics for that race, and
coaching me and coached me since 02, he was kind of like, he'd always kind of give you sessions where you knew if you're in shape or not, and you had a lot of confidence. And I had a lot of confidence from all the lead-up races I'd done. And then just before we went into the core room, like Nick gave me a race plan that was like, all you've got to do is just make sure you keep up for the first 6K, so for the first 3 laps. And like the year before, I kind of dropped back a little bit in the kind of like the third quarter of the race, and so I knew that was going to be a problem for me. So I had that in my mind, and then Nick said, like, when you get to the 4th lap, you've just got to make a move and make the move to the finish. So try to gap them. And but once you do that, you've just got to think you're holding on to these monkey bars. And I've told people this story and Nick said you've just got to hold on these monkey bars, and imagine you're on a building that's 20 stories high, and you've just got to hold on until someone slides a mattress, and then you can let go and you won't dry, and that's when you cross the line. So that's what you've got to be feeling like when you make this break, that you're just holding on to these monkey bars.
With the exertion.
Yeah, and it was interesting because the way Nick, and it was only like, we only ever used to talk tactics like that. It wasn't like, he'd never say, try to be 6 minutes through 2K, try to be, like, we never talked times. It was more about analogies and things like that to think about. And so I was thinking about in the race, and then I knew there was this big hill at the start of every lap, and so I knew in the 3rd lap the Africans, so there was only me and some Africans, probably a group of 6 Africans by this 6K going into the last lap, and I just knew I've just had to make a break up this hill. And so I was leading with 1,500 metres to go, and Australian never won World Cross. People just couldn't believe that I was winning. Like, it was, and I couldn't believe I was winning. And then it was just like the hardest ever last K and a half, because the course went out in kind of no man's land for a while, then it came back into where other people were. And it was one of those moments where I'm just like, I can't have what happened to me last year happen again. And I ended up winning by, I think, over 20 seconds, which is a big margin for World Cross. And it was kind of one of those things where it was the hardest race I ever did, but like when you finish, you just can't believe that you won something like that. Like, it's pretty, I think you take it for granted when you're in your career, but then when you're not in the career, your career anymore, it's kind of like, oh wow, I can't believe. Because I mean, these girls, they would beat me at 5K on the track, but cross country is different. So it's kind of like, it's more about tactics and hill running and how strong you are and how mentally strong you are as well. Like, it's not just, how well you can tick off the laps. So it was very interesting. And that was a huge, obviously, highlight of my career. But then, going into Athens Olympics, I think I was just so focused on, now I've got the Olympics, like I didn't really celebrate that as much as I probably should have. And I kind of went to a training camp straight away in California, and probably trained a little bit too much, got an injury. So Athens I still competed in Athens, but I had a pretty bad tendon injury in my shin. So it's kind of like, Athens, didn't go that well, but then I ended up winning the Great North Run half marathon like a few months after Athens. So it's kind of like 2004 was a big roller coaster.
Yeah, wow. So you went from the high of the, and then Olympics, and then the Great Northern Run, which is, an incredible event and prestigious.
It's just, and it's one of those things where you kind of forget, like when you see athletes, say, in the Olympics coming up in Rio, all you see is that snapshot of their career, but there's just so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes that gets them to that point. And so I think even being in an Olympics or being in a World Champs, or there's so many achievements along the way that, like, when you stop competing, you realise, oh, that was pretty good, but when you're in the moment, you get pumped for the highs, and then the lows, you're kind of like, why am I even doing it? Like, it's a very hard thing to kind of get back and then get back ready to do something else. So it's tough.
So did you find that in your career, Benita, you literally were at times where you're like, why am I doing this? Maybe I shouldn't be doing it, and questioning, carrying on? Yeah,
I think so. I think the hardest year for me was 05, because it was the year after I won the World Cross Country, and I had a really good European cross country season at the start of the year. But then I guess because I'd won the World Cross, people always expected me to win lots of races, and I think I wasn't very good with expectations. Like, I always ran better if I was the underdog, and so my training that year wasn't very good. I ran the World Champs in Helsinki in the 10K and didn't run very well, and so my coach was like, I think you should probably just go back to Australia for a few months and don't worry about, because when you're in Europe, you don't have your family support, you don't really have much other support other than, you're just doing the training and, everything's centred around what you're doing. Like, if you're injured or stuff like that, it's quite hard. So I came back to Australia for a lot earlier than I normally would. I think I came back in August, and normally I used to come back in like October or November even. So I kind of spent that time and just kind of, focus more on just like getting better mentally, and then that's the next year I ended up running the national record for the marathon. So I think sometimes I think it does help to take a step back to take a few steps forward, but unless if my coach hadn't have said that to me, if Nick Bideau hadn't have said that to me, you just try to push through, and you might even get further into a mental hole or not even want to do it kind of thing. So that really helped me achieve a lot in 2006.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Benita, did your confidence ride waves as well across the high of the World Cross country champ win, through to Athens, through to Great Northern Run? Does your confidence really get shaken if you don't? And how do you manage, one, confidence, and two, I guess this is a question, two, the expectations of yourself and then perceived or real of others. So two questions, I guess. How do you manage your expectations first?
Yeah,
How did you?
Managing expectations is really hard because initially, I was always like one of those people that didn't want people to think I was sucking at stuff or things like that. And you've got to forget about looking at it that way, and you've just got to do whatever, the best for you, and not really worry about what people say. Not read too much social media stuff if, you haven't been racing well, because people, I think it's more, if you're not racing well, people usually always say stuff rather than if you're racing really well. It's a hard kind of way the media works a lot of the time. But I think, you just have to learn how to kind of shut out things that you don't need to deal with, and then just focus on what you're doing and your goals. And I think I learned that a lot better. But when you're going really well, it's easy. Everything's easy. But it's just when you have races that aren't very good, or you have a period of time where you're not going well or you get injured, and that's probably when you need the most support. So sometimes that's really hard, but you just kind of, and you mature a bit. I think when I was younger, when I got injured, my first injury, that was really hard. That was
with a navicular stress injury, fracture.
And I remember going home for a long time to Mackay and thinking, why don't I just go back to uni on the Gold Coast and
what were you studying, or what did you study?
I just knew movement education.
At Bond University. Griffith.
In Canberra.
In Canberra. Sorry.
Third course,
Okay, sorry. So you remember going. Why would? Sorry. Okay.
And so I think as I got older, I got better at dealing with all that stuff. But I think that is really hard for young athletes coming through too, and just dealing with expectations of parents or of coaches, of training partners, of media. There's so many things to deal with. And I was really lucky because I didn't have expectations of anyone other than myself. People close to me, they were always very supportive. But it was more, probably putting pressure on myself more so than feeling expectations from other people. But I had to learn how to kind of block out stuff you don't want to hear. And some people are better than others at it, and there's a lot of people that you see in their career, and despite the hardships they've been through, they just rise above it. And Nick always used to say the best athletes are the ones that come back from injury, from setbacks, and start competing at a higher level. And I was one of those sort of people. It was kind of in 2003 when I didn't get a medal at the World Cross Country, I was pretty annoyed, and I used to get really fired up, but then I start competing at a higher level. And but some people, they just get so upset or so annoyed that they just spiral downwards and they never are quite as good. And so you've got to be able to deal with that, and that's a very hard thing to learn, I think. But you just got to kind of take a step back and then and just kind of learn to be able to do it, and the people that you can trust and people you can't.
What advice would you give, Benita, to anyone listening, whether it's a junior aspiring athlete or emerging athlete or even a recreational athlete that's managing their own expectations? What advice would you give to people about managing expectations around performance?
Yeah, I think you've just got to think about like where you've come from and have a look at where you were a few years ago, and just try to be better than that. But just try to see the level that you're at now, and just put it in a big scheme of things, and think, it's not like you've got some illness that's gonna kill you. It's not. It's just a sport. I think you've got to take. It's obviously something that you love, but you've got to kind of, manage that as well as you can. But maybe use some outside influences, like talk to someone that's not your parents, that's not your coach, someone that you can trust, even if it's a mentor. And I definitely had a few people that were really good for me to talk to in my career that weren't people that were managing my career, because sometimes if you just talk to, so few people, you just get tunneled into this small world, and sometimes you need other people to help you kind of realise that it's not really that bad. Yeah,
give you a perspective outside your myopic little focus, or not little but focus. Benita, and then on your career, before we shift to a bit of training stuff there, went from 2006 to the which still stands the national marathon record, which you ran in Chicago. 2:22. I don't know the little micro numbers there. 2:22. 36. Yep. 2:22.36. And tell us about that run. I've heard you tell a story about it before, and it was fascinating. You said about Nick's Bordeaux, your coach's little analogies, and the thing that sticks in my mind when you talk about that run is the analogy you had in your head about the bus.
So going into that race, I think I'd only done 2 marathons before that, and so I did New York in 2004, and I didn't go that well. I think I was a lot fitter, and I think I ran 2:38, and then at the start of 2005 I did London Marathon and ran 2:26, and then Nick said to me, I don't think you should do another marathon until next year. So I did no marathons until Chicago, which is October of 2006, so over a year after my second marathon. And I was going really well. I had run, I think, a national record for 10K on the road that year. And I think my range was from 4:07, I ran at the Prefontaine meet for 1500, all the way to 2:22. So I knew I was going well, but going into that race, like, Nick, and it was going to be really cold, which is really good for marathons. I'd never seen the course before, first time in Chicago, all that kind of stuff. But that didn't bother me. That never bothered me. It was more, about competing with people. And my race plan wasn't, you've got to do these splits. It was like just one girl we knew was going to go out way too fast, so we just let her go. And then Nick was like, you just got to just get in the race, relax, and it's just like being on a bus. And because I was living in London at the time, you see all the red buses all the time, and he's like, you just got to sit, you've got to sit on the bus, and you just sit there, and that's probably the first 30K. So you got to use as little energy as possible, just relax, and then when you feel like you're getting closer and your stop's coming up, you've got to start getting up, getting ready to get off, and then in those last 10K, so just over 30K, that's when the flashing red lights go off, and that's when you've got to get off the bus, and that last 10K is just the most important part of the race. And just thinking about that, like, so in the first 30K, like, all I was thinking in Chicago was just sitting in the pack. And there was quite a few Russians in that race again, and I remember, like, it was really cold and really windy, like I think it was about a -4 wind chill factor, and I remember they kept turning around and like yelling something at me, and I think I was swearing. I think it was probably to do with, like, I'm not leading anything, but like my plan was just to sit in the pack, and then in the last 10K, like, just finish as well as I could, kind of thing. And so I was so like that, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't even know what splits, like I know I went through halfway in 70-10, and the first half of Chicago is a bit faster, but I still did positive split it, but my plan was always just to sit in the pack, and then I knew I was in 4th place in the last 10K, and then the girl that went out really fast, who ended up winning Beijing Olympics, Constantina Dita from Romania. Like, I could see her and ended up passing her in the last 10K, and had no idea what time I was going to run. And so just seeing 2:22 something on the clock when I was in the finishing straight, like I couldn't believe I was running that fast. Like, because sometimes you just don't really know. So it was one of those races that, like, you have a plan, the race goes really quick, and you're hurting heaps as well. Obviously, like, I've never done a marathon that's felt easy, but just like at the end, I was just like, I was so excited, but it was more knowing that I was in really good shape and just sticking to my race plan, than just putting a lot of extra pressure on what I was going to do as well.
What was your thought when you crossed the finish line?
My first thought was, I remember trying to hold my eyes open in the last 5K. Like, I think I might have been going a bit low in, like, blood sugar or something. And so,
as in, like, you're literally starting to feel like your eyes were closing.
Just both of my eyes felt like I was going to go to sleep, which is weird. I think, when I first crossed the line, like, my first thought was, I couldn't believe it was so fast. And obviously I knew what time I went through halfway in, but I think sometimes in the last 10K, like, you get so focused on the race and passing people, and, like, so I was passing heaps of guys that kind of blow up in the last 10K. So it's kind of like, you get so focused on that the finish comes around so quick, and I was like, oh wow. And we didn't have Garmin's or anything like that, and most of the time I didn't wear a watch. I think I was wearing a watch in that race, but I wasn't, like, looking at it, so I didn't. So I was just, like, really excited, and I knew that I'd come third too, which I was really pumped about as well.
Wow. So and so Benita, off the back of that then, marathon high, what was the rest of the career? What were the highlights for the rest of the career, and at what point did you take off your professional running hat to look at your next stage of life?
So I ended up, after that, I ended up still doing a couple of marathons in 07, went to the Beijing Olympics in 08, and I was in the marathon there, and I ran pretty well, but I guess probably the best parts of my career were prior to 2007. And then in 2008, my father passed away. That was fairly unexpected, like, from a neurological disease, so I was kind of coming back and forth to Australia a fair bit, and that probably was very hard. And I think those kind of things, like, you're never quite sure how much of an impact that's going to take on how you feel and things like that. So 2009, I didn't really do much running. I moved to Newcastle in the UK and worked for the great the company that put on all the great runs. So Nova International, the Great North, Great South Run, all those, because that was Brendan Foster's company. So he was a bit of a mentor to me, and brilliant British runner. And so I worked for them for a while. Then I moved to America, just because I wanted to live somewhere a bit different. I used to live between Melbourne and London for so long. So I just moved to Boulder in Colorado, started training a bit more, and then I just wanted to make one more Olympics. So I got back to running. I won the Vegas Rock and Roll Half in 70 minutes at the end of 2011, and then ran 2:28 in Houston in 2008 to qualify for London. And then after London, I didn't compete at all, and I just wanted to make one more Olympics. So I think.
And how was your London marathon?
I was injured. I got injured before it, so it was just a bit about, like, I think I wouldn't have run if we had more girls that could have taken my place, but because I used to live in London and there was no one that could have taken my place if I pulled out, I'd just been training on the older G, and, like, normally I wouldn't advise people to do a marathon off just training on the older G, but I wanted to do it, and but I was pretty painful. Like, I was in pain after probably 5K.
What was the injury?
Like, I had a hip injury. It was it wasn't really a labrum thing, but it was kind of like that. And we tried heaps of stuff, and I was living in America. I just wanted to, but I think I was in a wheelchair for a few days after the race, and it was one of those things where running wasn't something that I wanted to keep going. Like, after I finished that race, I didn't really have the enthusiasm for it anymore.
After London.
London, and I tried to train a bit for the next year. But I was kind of like, I'd go to races and not be really that pumped to run. So I think it was probably sometime in 2013 where I just, like, thought, nah, I'm not doing it anymore. I got a green card and started a business in America. and worked at Boulder Centre for Sports Medicine. So that was really good because it was more about coaching people. Started a new running program at Boulder Centre for Sports Medicine, and then I ended up having St Kilda come over for a few years for altitude camps in the off season, and I had a few other football clubs as well come over.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an organic tapering down to the point where you said you weren't sort of enjoying it as much anymore, and so there was no definitive moment. This is the end of my career. It just started to become less of an enjoyable part of your world.
Yeah.
And your father's passing obviously was a fairly big part of that.
That was fairly tough. Because that was, I guess. Yeah, like it's still, and it was like a neurological disease that wasn't diagnosed, so we just still don't really know what it was. But it was quite, like he was a school teacher and really fit sort of person, and it was quite aggressive once, he started getting worse with everything. So that was 2007 and 2008 was, and he started getting sick about 2006. So it was kind of, but in the last 6 months it was pretty happened pretty quickly, so that was really hard, and then it's hard not to be able to communicate to someone that's that you can see wants to talk to you, but he started losing a lot of bodily functions and talking and stuff like that. But
and he was obviously as any dad with their daughter or daughters are, a massive encouragement to you. And
he was awesome, and we've got a really close family. Like I've got a sister and 2 brothers, and my sister was quite close to making London Olympics in the 400. She came second in the trial, but we didn't qualify a relay team. But she's been to a couple of world champs. She's won a gold medal at the Com Games in the 4x4 in Melbourne. So she's a brilliant athlete as well, and it's kind of one of those things where like we were always being really close, and so it was a really hard thing when you see someone that you love and you can't really help them go through something like that as well. So I think that took a lot of a toll. But I think after London I was kind of like and I'm still, like even now, like I'm still 4 years probably younger than Scotty, where Scott, I'm the same age as Lisa Waitman, so I'm not too old to be still competing, but for me it's more about like, what do you want to do? And it's not really what I want to do, so it's kind of like, you can't do the training and live the lifestyle if you don't really want to do it. I could still be probably pretty decent, but I'm probably one of those people that's either all in something or not, but not like half-hearted. And if you're half-hearted, I think it's not going to ever work. So I stopped competing. I didn't really do like announcements of retiring or anything like that. Like I think it just kind of just happened, and then I went on to something else. And your current world, Benita, you're sitting here today, and it's just on the eve of the 2016 Rio Olympic Games too. Just
having attended and competed the previous 4 Olympic Games in succession. Is it a bit of a weird feeling? Yeah,
it's really weird, because I think, like every year I've always actually been there, being overseas. Like I've never really seen the lead up to it on TV, and as people get there, getting off the plane in Rio, like I've never actually seen all that kind of coverage. So it's interesting looking at it from a different angle, but I'm really excited to like watch it on TV, because being there, like you kind of more focus on your race, and you kind of only follow stuff after you've competed, which usually with track and field we're towards the end, so you don't really follow too much. So I'm really excited to follow a lot of other sports. Obviously I think Nick Bideau has 15 people competing, which is massive, and most of them are Australian, but there's a few he has from other countries as well. So it'll be great to see all of them compete, and I still know quite a few of his athletes, and and a lot of the Australian team now. So it's going to be so good to see everyone compete. So it'll be
an experience of a different kind for you this year. And Benita, your world currently, what's your world look like now post-professional running?
So I'm living in Brisbane now, and looking after Q-Run, which is the recreational hub of Queensland, and we're part of Queensland Athletics, so I work for Queensland Athletics, and what we want to do, we've just got our website up, qrun.com.au, so what we're doing is trying to create like a social hub that's really fun, and anyone that does any sort of running to come to visit our site, check out what we do. If you want to join a club or a running group, there's groups on there, races on there, or if you want just advice and things like that. So we just update stuff all the time. I've just done a story on a guy that's broken the Masters age record for 63-year-olds in the marathon. So that's an interesting article. To someone that's written a cafe review on Commune, which is here on the Gold Coast. So it's kind of we have lots of different sorts of stories coming out, different things to try. We're going to have giveaways through the Olympics, and so we really want to make it a place where people of all ages and abilities come to, and it's not elitist at all, and we just want to kind of get the running scene going here in Queensland, and really look after people that want to take up running or already do it, and to a high level, or even if you just don't do races or just run for fun.
Yeah, it's great, and I've been on the site and read a great article just this week about Cassie Feen, an upcoming guest on the show, and her treadmill affinity. So we'll link that up, listeners, in the show notes. Yeah. And Benita, in bringing this into a close, a couple of questions. Yeah. Who's one person living that you really admire?
I probably can't go past Cathy Freeman from Sydney Olympics, and just when everyone expected her to win the gold medal, and I was there that night in her 400 final, and because she's from North Queensland as well, from Mackay, I think it's so hard when you have all that expectation on you to actually produce the goods in your home country, and I have so much admiration for what she did that night, and and what she continues to do as well, but certainly as an athlete, and she was in our block in the village as well for a bit of the time, so and I was pretty young, so her performance at Sydney was just brilliant. I
don't think anyone that was alive for that time can forget that. So Cathy Freeman, and what's on your bucket list, Benita, in your life now? What's on your bucket list? Having accomplished such lofty things.
I think just doing a bit more travelling. I want to go to I want to go to Tour de France, and I've seen a few stages, but I want to kind of follow it a lot more, and just kind of seeing parts of the world that I didn't really get to see that much. I love travelling for sure. I've always got a lot of things that I always have in my mind that I want to do, and so but it's not like really crazy stuff. It's probably more stuff that I didn't really get a chance to do when I was competing, but just live life, enjoy your life, and also try to help people, because I feel like when you're an athlete you have to be a little bit selfish for your career, and then when you're not an athlete you can help a lot more people, and give back to the sport. So I want to be doing that, but apart from that, I think traveling and just continuing to enjoy life, but just to a different extent.
Great. And in closing, Benita, one bit of advice for people looking to perform at their best, enjoy it, what would it be? One bit of advice from Benita Willis.
I think just be true to yourself, and my biggest bit of advice is whatever you put into something in life, that's what you get out of it. So if you're not putting in 100%, you're not going to get your biggest capacity out of it. So it's always, if you want to achieve, you've got to work hard.
Yeah, wow. What a way to end. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I've enjoyed sitting here with Benita, bringing it to you. Benita, thanks for letting us into your world, both current and past. And we, certainly I wish you all the best for the future ahead. And listeners, jump over and check out Q Run and all the great content and resources that are on there. Look at the show notes for links. And Benita, have a great afternoon. You're straight from here to another engagement, so we'll get you out the door.
Yeah, thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Benita.
Thanks.
So there you have it, another episode of the Physical Performance Show. And what a remarkable athletic career Benita Willis had. And who knows, had if Benita carried on running, she likely could have been, as she said, at Rio 2000 Olympic Games, and potentially one of those incredible athletes that makes 5 Olympic Games. So just outstanding. I hope you took as much out of it as I did in bringing it to you. Listeners, coming up on the next episode of the Physical Performance Show, you're in for another real treat. In the next episode, I catch up with a gentleman who holds 3 world records in adventuring. The longest land journey ever by kite across the Sahara Desert. This gentleman was the first to ever kite surf across the Torres Strait between Australia and Papua New Guinea. He also set the world record for the fastest unsupported crossing of Antarctica under wind power, spending an incredible 53 days traversing the rigours of Antarctica. So this is none other than Jeff Wilson, and Jeff lets us into his world of extreme adventures. We talk about what fuels him, what drives him, where this passion comes from, and the difference he's trying to make in the world, and I'd say he is definitely making in the world. So you're going to really enjoy next episode of the Physical Performance Show. In the meantime, please jump over, leave a review on iTunes if you're enjoying the show. Any questions, make sure you shoot them across to @Brad_beer on social media. Jump over to pogophysio.com.au for all the show notes and links. And in the meantime, keep pursuing your physical best. This is the Physical Performance Show.